Grief Talk with Vonne Solis, The Clips. So I was visiting your website, which I think is wonderful. And one of the things that caught me about what you said is, I think it was in your video introducing your course, which we'll talk about in just a few questions. But it was the expectation of how you were supposed to show up in the world. You and by you, you representing the alopecia community. And I really am interested in hearing your views on that, because as a bereaved mother, there is an expectation of the way that we're going to show up, and certainly one from families. And you know what? Like you just finished saying, it's just hair loss. It's not that big a deal. And but it is a really big deal. And in the case of many expectations, one of them is that we are going to be normal and or recover from whatever has impacted us as a loss. So I just wondered if you could share a little bit what you felt the expectation was to show up. What did that look like for you?
Well, it was kind of personal at first, right? I mean, you have to convince yourself to show up in a way that is kind of new to you. It's not, yeah, you look different. And so looking at yourself is one thing in the mirror, then going, oh, I'm going to now present myself to the world in whatever way that looks like. And the expectation was for me to cover it, right? Very young. Like I was telling you, my parents listened to a teacher who said, oh, she needs to cover that up. And they were like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Right. Let's just get a wig and she'll wear a wig for the rest of her life. And so it was the expectation of what was acceptable at school. We didn't want to draw attention away from the curriculum or learning or whatever we want to think and whatever it may have been. And that was just one teacher. And so it's interesting how it guided the rest of my life, because when I then lost my hair again, it was the question of, how do I want to show up in the world, right? But it took a long time. I had very, just lost the, tufts of hair sticking out here and there. And I never wanted to shave. My husband kept saying, do you want to just shave it off? Do you want to just shave it off? And that can be a very empowering experience. But I was so connected to that last strand, thinking, okay, once the last strand goes, then I'll be able to decide what to do. And so it was kind of a protective mechanism, I think, in me going, okay, you'll get there when you get there, whenever that will be. And so when I decided to present myself with this new look, it was covered still. I wore a hat, a pretty tacky hat, to tell you the truth. It was something that was available, but I learned so much. I thought, okay, you cover your ears with a hat, you can't even hear correctly. It's different, right? So you now have this hat that's covering your ear, or you wear something that's just coming out and then your ears stick out around it, and it's kind of wonky looking. So there's that. And so it was a progression. I think that as I started to put my book together, and we'll probably talk about my book later, I was wearing a bandana in the summertime, I kind of was matching everything to my outfit. So I have probably, 30 or 40 different color bandanas. And that was my next transition from like wearing a wig to a hat to a bandana. And then I said, you know what, I need to live in the world in this way. And it was really important for me to show up as that person, because I was then going to talk about my book, which featured people about, living with alopecia. And I thought, if I'm not living the life that is authentic to me, then who am I? And so that's kind of how it went. But I also didn't know what was authentic to me until that point when I actually did it. So